We began this course with my favorite question: why do we care? And in the very first segment on gender and religion, we talked about the cultural and social pressure on women to remain pure. That is, to not have sex before or outside a paternally sanctioned marriage. And how this demand for purity could be traced back to various religious stories, beliefs, and ideas. Well, when the idea of the nation takes on the urgency of a religion and is imposed on people in the ways in which religious conduct is imposed on believers, then the idea of the purity of the woman is attached to the purity of the nation, most often in terms of race, religion, or ethnicity. Here are some examples of what happens when gender and nationalism intersect with race. As you will immediately recognize, none of these statements is factually true. You might also notice the complete absence of any knowledge of the history of Europe or America. That, for instance, in the case of Europe, non-white people are more likely to be in countries which have colonized them. So you will have more Indians and Pakistanis in England, while there'll be more Algerians in France. And in the case of America, of course, the non-white people were the original population, while those from Africa were forcibly brought over during the slave trade era, and so on.
It seems, Kitty, as if facts and historical information are the first casualty in the propaganda machine of nationalism. They would just get in the way of the prejudices and biases that are peddled in the name of purity. And all this so that white women will not date, have sex with, or marry non-white men.
Indeed. And Thomas, do you see how white men are exempt from these injunctions to stay away from non-white partners?
Well, we're not the ones with a uterus, Kitty, in danger of having biracial babies and polluting the purity of our race, are we?
Sadly, no, Thomas. But it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? That there must actually be a lot of people mingling with other people who don't look like them for the nationalists to get so uptight about it, doesn't it? I mean, if black men were really so undesirable to white women, why would the white women need to be warned against them so sternly, right?
Yes, indeed, Kitty. And if you look at the image, you can see how desperately racial stereotypes are being emphasized in order to keep the races segregated. Kind of ironic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Now, that this whole notion of purity should be based on something as arbitrarily defined as race.
Yes, it is. I'm not even sure we should be using the term race.
Really?
Given that it isn't really a thing.
Oh.
What we observe as physical differences are really only skin deep and do not add up to anything more than that. Well, let's just assume that we use the term within quotes.
Okay,
Shall
okay.
we?
Agreed. And which takes us to our next section, which should also be within quotes, the idea of a golden age.